All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Kimbrough Jones. I am from Potts Camp, Mississippi, originally, and I was born in New Albany Hospital. My current age, I just turned 40 this past year, and I'm a descendant of Junior Kimbrough, one of the pioneers of the Cotton Patch Soul Blues out of Holly Springs, Mississippi. And my grandfather had about 36 children, I believe, that's been recorded so far. And I'm one of his many, many grandchildren. And my father is Kenny Kimbrough. And he was my grandfather's drummer for many, many years of his musical career. And I was a late bloomer, so to speak, with the music. I started playing drums when I was like 7 years old. But as far as my father, he was pretty much touring around that time. My grandfather had a juke joint in Chulahoma, Mississippi. And so I had to be about maybe 4 to 7 when the juke joint was really active. And so I didn't spend a lot of time in there doing the juking hours per se, but I was around my family. Mostly when my father's mom, Miss Grandma Mag, when she was living, she would pretty much come by and get me at the night hours. And so growing up in this musical background and culture, my mom was a singer, or she is a singer, she's still alive today, but she had a debilitating stroke. But every morning waking up for me, I would hear my mom singing with bacon frying in the pan, and you could smell coffee, in the kitchen. And so that was life for me at home with my mom. And when I went to my father's house, of course, it was my Uncle David, which is he was one of my greatest, I would say, musical inspirations, due to the fact that he really took time out to speak with me and speak life into me about this music. And he showed me my first guitar chord. And my Uncle David was like, I don't know, I thought he was just like a prince or something, so to speak. He played the piano, the guitar, the bass guitar, the dulcimer. He could play the drums. And so for me, even though my dad was the drummer, my Uncle David was more, I guess, hands-on with his nieces and nephews and everything like that. And so my grandfather, I met with him several times, but for me being a little boy, I can only remember certain interactions with him, when he was at home and not touring. And he was really laid back. And I remember being at the juke joint several nights, me being a little boy. This kind of confused me at first, It'd be people from all over, black people, white people, even Asian people from all over the place. And my granddad was in the back room, we would call the green room. And they would be like, Junior, such and so trying to get in here. He was laid back, smoking a cigarette and not have a shirt on. He's like, let him in, let him come in. Everybody be like, oh no, such and so they rowdy, he drunk. And then a stranger would come in the room, and I guess my grandfather would know him. He was like, come in, this your uncle, And I was like, but he don't look like me, this is a white guy. And but they never seen things like that, it never really was a color when they introduced me to anyone back in those times. And that was really important for me at those times, because I didn't really realize that the music was really bringing a lot of people together of all cultures and backgrounds. It really didn't matter who you were, what you looked like. I even remember the police coming in there one night. It had to be like 7:30, 8 o'clock. It had just got dark. And I thought the whole thing was about to be shut down. And he just walked in. He was like, "Where Junior at?" And my grandfather come from the back, and they exchanged words, and everything was fine. And I was like, oh my goodness, my granddad part of the mob or the mafia or something, the police coming checking in with him, keeping him safe. But and so those times were like really important for me, to see moments to where all different cultural backgrounds come together. And it wasn't the best building. As a matter of fact, I think the floors, like, it kind of looked like it was sand or dirt on the floor. Like, it wasn't really a structural sound floor. It was like, I remember seeing like rocks and sand and stuff in there. And it's kind of like dilapidated a little bit on the outside. You can see holes in the roof sometimes, but it never really did rain and leak in there for whatever reason. I never remember seeing any leaks in there, but you know, it was a juke joint to say none the least. It kind of looked like it used to be an old grocery store maybe to me, or like an old church. You know, they play music off in the back corner. When you first walk in the juke joint, it's kind of dark in there because it wasn't the best lighting. So your eyes had to really adjust. And then when it adjusted, you could see the drum set off in the back corner if they had the lights on. If not, you really couldn't see it. And it was just like they was cooped off in this corner, and then it was a pool table. This is my memory now. Some of the guys out there that really remember, mind you, I was a kid, so don't be like, no, that ain't right. It ain't right. That ain't what I remember. But you know, mind, I was a little boy, and this is how I remember. It was a pool table when you first walk in, and it was just a dancing area all around it. And I can remember when things got good in there, and you know, the music got good. I used to dance. I don't know what to call it. I guess I was just like hopping around a little bit, kind of like river dancing, I guess is the best way to describe it. Crazy. And people used to throw quarters and nickels and dimes and stuff at me, you know. And I remember that, those times in the juke joint. And so as time passed on, I was the only child that my mom had. Now I have siblings, but I have a half brother. He died in Parchment. He got killed in Parchment. I have a half sister by the name of Kimbrough. I don't know, let me not say half. It feels a little funny just saying that. But me and my sister used to be closer when I went to a college in Holly Springs called Russ College. You know, she used to keep the girls off of me and stuff, you know, and be like, you know, don't be talking to her, you know, you need to go to class, you out too late, stuff like that, you know. And as I got older, I think we kind of just grew apart. You know, she had a niece of mine, and you know, I got married and I started having my own children. Well, let me clarify this. I had my first, well, I didn't physically have my child, but my son was born when I was 21. I was a truck driver around that time, and I also have 2 daughters, and they came when I was age 31. So I have 3 children now. And yes, my son is into music, and my oldest daughter, she sings in church. And so let's put good vibes out, y'all, that they're gonna continue this music and keep giving it to us. Because I don't want to pressure him into it, because you know I wasn't pressured into it. But their names are Carmine, Morgan, and Bailey. So Morgan, she's my youngest daughter. She is handicapped. She has epilepsy, and so she can't walk or talk. So she has seizures daily. You know, I love my baby. Good vibes to her. Bailey is my oldest daughter. Her birthday is the day after mine, and she just has the most precious voice and this big personality. And Carmine, he's 18. He's like 6'4", wears a size 15. He's a giant, you know, but he produces and does music in something we call a DAW, like on computers. And actually, he showed me that some years ago, and I went home and recorded Head for the Hills. He showed me this on his iPhone. I think it was GarageBand, and you know, so he kind of keeping me hip to the new era of things. And so those are my children, and we're going to speak life into them, that they're going to continue this legacy that my grandfather and our forefathers have put before us. And so getting back to me and my journey on music, like I said, I started playing drums when I was 7. I don't really remember. I think my dad showed me like one drum roll that I really can remember. And kind of like my personality is like, once I like figure one thing out, like I take it and just like run with it and recreate it as many times as I can until I get like bored with it, you know. And then I'll force myself to really learn how I'm supposed to do it right, I guess. That's how I really started on the guitar. Like I learned a 9th chord first. I didn't learn music theory at all, and I just kind of ran with that 9th chord that my Uncle David showed me, and I would just go to, you know, other concerts or venues when people were playing and just try to watch their hands. But it was like, I couldn't pick up on it right then. I felt like I wasn't ready. And so I didn't pick the guitar up until I was like 24, 25. And this was around the time where I was driving a truck with this company, Swift. And everybody in the transportation world knows, because they talked about Swift drivers all day long on the radio. Like, if a truck driver watching this right now, you're probably laughing right now, I'm sure. But I ended up losing my license with them because they gave illegal immigrants some license, and so they got out on the road. They started killing people and falling asleep and stuff. And so I went from paying a mortgage to, this new truck I had just got, to living in this house that this gentleman knew that I had known from Russ College, Mr. Wayne Fittis. And he was like, Cameron, you can stay in here under the conditions that you finish this caulking. And you have to cut this rug up and pull the rug up because we got to put down new flooring. And he was like this militant guy, But I really needed him, I feel like, at that point in my life, because he didn't feel no pity for me at all. He was like, you don't have any hot water, there's no lights, but it's a mattress in here, It was that type of thing. And that was around the time where I got myself a guitar. I had this little piece of money saved, and it was a guitar shop in Holly Springs, and this guy, Eddie Long, he owned it. And he gave me this guitar and gave me a payment plan. He was like, just pay me when you get it. And so I used to spend 3-4 hours a day just playing and tinkering around with it after I got through working, or when I first got up, or just all throughout the day, really. And so that's when I first started playing the guitar, and really trying to find out more about, the musical legacy that I was a part of, and really searching for something other than what I had been doing with my life, which is basically working. That's how my mom had me from a little boy up, 6 o'clock in the morning, get up out of the bed, make your bed, get ready for the school bus, school. She was very supportive, though, about me being in sports. So I was a basketball player. I was actually a 1A state champ in track, throwing a discus. Don't make fun of me. It was weird. I know, he was like, a blues man throwing a discus? It's not adding up, Camp. But it was just Miss Green, our coach. She was just magical. We had been 1A state champs in track for like 6 years before I even got on the track team. And it was just something about how she was and the mindset that she gave all her athletes. And I still carry this with me today. It's pain is temporary, pride is forever. Like that was a saying. She's just crazy. It just come to me. I thought I would forget that. But that was a thing, I would be running. And I'm like, I'm not a runner. I hated to run, But she was like, it's just going to make you greater. Pain is temporary, pride is forever, And so I use that same concept, believe it or not, when it comes down to playing the guitar, because it's painful. It was painful to learn how to play the guitar and articulate your fingers just right on the strings and everything like that. And but I guess that's why I'm bringing her up. All of those things I went through, what I thought might have been difficult or difficult times for me in school or on the track team. I would think about those things as well, sitting in that house with no lights and no hot water. Saying to myself, this is only gonna last for a moment, momentarily. It's not gonna last forever. And so the more I sat in that room and played that music, and I had a bike, I had an S10 that I was paying for, but it got taken away. And Mr. Fittis gave me this bike. So I used to just get up in the morning, because it would get hot in there without no lights, and get on that bike and just ride around town and just ride around. And, it's where a lot of my relatives stayed. My cousins and everything, they were there in Holly Springs. And so I would just go over their house and just be around them. That was the moment where I was around my family the most. And so I got even more involved in family and finding out who we were and listening to them talk about your granddaddy and, your daddy. And my uncle was alive at the time, so I seen how he got practice together. Everything was real loose leaf. But then when it was time to practice, everything got serious. People left the house. It was quiet. And, it was Uncle David, this guy named G Cutter that was around. I mean, so many people. Really, I can't even think just on the spot to just think of everybody's name. But Artemis on the drums, of course, my dad, this guy named Pinky Pulliam on bass. It's just like the ordinary gentleman, you would see around Holly Springs playing the music. And it would put me in the mood of not being so down, like looking like, yeah, this is going to be what I'm doing one day. I'm going to do this one day. And that's kind of how I really made it through that moment of I call it being homeless. I could have went home to my mom, but I knew how she was, and I didn't want her worrying about nothing and, thinking I did something or had something to do with not, being successful at that. But so that was around the time that I really started picking the guitar up and and trying to challenge myself to play. And people used to ask me, "You gonna play music like your granddaddy?" And, I was like, I really hadn't thought about it, at that moment. I was just living and, staying positive and really learning what the blues was really at that moment. Because before then, I really want to say I really knew what the blues was, because I was always doing something and always working, and it seemed at the moment that everything was working out. Before I got my license taken, I was paying a $450 mortgage, and I just got a brand new pickup truck. I was working, everything was fine, and then just like that, boom, something that I didn't even do changed my whole life. And it really caused me to really dig into this music. That's really all I had. Like, I didn't want to tell anybody, because everybody's like, "Oh, you at home? You ain't on the road?" And when I was at home all the time, I was just like, man, I don't want nobody to find out. Like, I went from this truck driver that had this house to having nothing. And and so that's really when I started becoming a bluesman. And I didn't tell my son and everything, because, he looked up to me. He just always thought I was this, He-Man type of guy. And so I started posting videos after that, just fast forwarding. I ended up becoming a volunteer fireman for Holly Springs Fire Department, because I'd been reading the paper and I rolled by and it was like, yeah, we're getting ready to hire some people at the time. And so that's how I got out of the situation, and that went back from me doing that to fast forwarding a little bit to touring with this gentleman named Lightning Malcolm. And me and him did an East to West Coast tour that lasted about a year and 3 or 4 months. And, as I got out on the road and people were hearing that last name, "Oh, you kidding, the Junior Kimbrough?" I was like, "Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. It's my grandfather." And they started speaking these things, telling me about how they come from this over here from this country or from this state to this juke joint, and, all of these experiences they had, and their face would just light up, and you would swear like, they just found God or something. And I was like, man, I was listening to Junior here when I got my first kiss, and, telling me about these memories. I was like, wow, he really is an important pinnacle to the community, and not just me and the family, but to so many people don't even know in these other states. And so after that moment with Lightning Malcolm, I wanted to do it myself. And so that's what I did. I kind of like segued away from Lightning Malcolm, and I started as a solo artist. I came out as Kimbrough. I was a little shy at first. Still am, kind of. I don't think I'll ever get over it, because me being the only child, I'm pretty much really an introvert. Even though I'm talking right now a lot, I'm really shy. And so that really helped me, though, talking to these people that were welcoming, without them even really knowing me personally, who I was. And so I got the bug. Lightning Malcolm used to tell me, "Hey, man, you ain't gonna be able to go back home and work a regular job, you don't want to be out here and such and so and so." He was right. I tried. Really, after that, I tried to just work and do something regular, but I felt like I was missing the road, missing the people, missing the juking, people dancing, and kind of like when you go to church, people get to shouting. It's real spiritual for me, this music and everything about it. I'll tell you that. When I don't play this music, it seems like my life just segues off sometimes, or life it's difficult for me to live when I don't play it. And so I'm really indebted to it now. I've met so many different walks of people, political people, regular people, just so many different types of people playing this music, especially going to Spain. And a lot of people there didn't really speak English very well, but when we played that music, like, they understood that just fine. And at first it might be a tense situation because there was a language barrier and I really couldn't communicate with them who I was or what I wanted. But after the stage, it was just like, "Oh, what do you want?" They found a way to ask, "Are you okay? Do you need something?" And so, yeah, I'm just truly indebted to this blues music and being a part of the region of North Mississippi. I think about 6 or 7 years ago, I Googled hill country blues, because I was like, Hill Country Blues, what is that? And it'll tell you. I advise everybody to Google it. You know, if you're really curious, it'll tell you that it's a style of music that originated specifically from North Mississippi. And that, to me, is New Albany, because we're all at the top. New Albany, Oxford, Potts Camp, even Tupelo, the Golden Triangle, because that's all a part of my lifestyle. Holly Springs, most definitely. Hudsonville, Byhalia, Mississippi. You know, Olive Branch, Mississippi. And when you come to this region, and you've been other places, it does have that energy about it, you know. In the morning time, you seeing people cut grass. It might be 92 degrees, but we up. You know, we up in the hills, we working. We might not have much, but we're up and we moving at all times. And, you know, we Baptist and apostolic here, our churches, and we get to praising, you know. And so, yeah, just being a part of this region and me going to all of these different places, I can really see how North Mississippi is within me everywhere I go, my energy and the way I vibrate and everything. It's a thing, you know, and I'm country, you know how we country here. We four-wheeler ride, you know, we go fishing. And my friend Tenobia, her son Junior, which I thought this was amazing, you know, just like, what kind of shoes you want? You know, he ain't like the children of the day, you know, Junior wants some boots. And I was like, yeah. You need some boots because you never know, you know, about the rain here or when it's going to rain, especially nowadays. And, yeah, so everything about, you know, North Mississippi and this region is, it's really just been amazing to me. If you don't mind, I'd like to play you a little something in the style of the Hill Country Blues music, just to give you an example. It was a gentleman by the name of R.L. Burnside that I remember when I was a kid. And he used to hang out with Fred McDowell. And so it's a very percussive style. It's not a lot of chords or anything like that. So people have often looked at me kind of crazy, like, what you know about that, boy? You're a little too young, you know? And I just tell them it's in my soul, you know? The people used to tell me, Cam, it's in your blood. And I was like, what are you talking about? You know, what do you mean? I used to relate it to that old Baptist song, I know it was the blood, oh yeah, you know. And so I was like, I guess whatever Jesus had on him, I must got it on me, you know. That's what I used to think. But yeah, this is a style, Hill Country Blues. I don't want skinny woman. I don't want skinny woman. She don't cook no breakfast. She don't wash no clothes. All she do, walk up and down, walk up and down, walk up and down, walk up and down. Hey. And so, yeah, when I first heard that, you know, I was like, you know, I got all happy and excited about it. And, you know, I really wanted to be a part of it, but it just seemed so difficult for me to play. And, you know, I really give pretty most of the credit to life, you know, itself, and just being a part of this musical legacy, basically on both sides. If you guys hadn't heard, my mom's name is Joyce She-Wolf Jones. And she was a force to be reckoned with. When you think of her, think of like Coco Taylor, and having Coco Taylor in your kitchen cooking bacon and biscuits, you know, and singing every morning. And you know, my granddad in their juke joint. And that's what the life like. That's what it was like for me. And, you know, I was a part of my high school choir, Potts Camp High School Choir. And it kind of helped me with a lot of my, I would say, voice control. I sure miss Miss Sanders, by the way. Miss Sanders, if you happen to see this anywhere, I miss you and thank you for your patience and everything. I was the only male in the choir for like a year, and then my friend Sandy Bird, he came and joined, and then it was like, I forgot, Gary Payton, I think that was his name. And so it was 3 of us in the choir, you know, And Miss Sanderson, she used to just be like, I know you're only boy. It's fine. It's all right. We need you, Cameron. So just remember the breathing we talked about, and just all of these moments just really helped my journey, along the way. Potts Camp, go Cardinals, never forget it. And, the New Albany Bulldogs, my cousins, used to play ball here, and my grandma used to make the fried apple pies for everybody, and the caramel cakes and everything. And so, yeah, just being a part of this musical heritage and this northern Mississippi legacy, has brought me here to the Arts and Cultural Museum here in New Albany. And it's just amazing, just to be a part of this.
Your mom's name is what?
Right. So her maiden name is Joyce Howe, but she got the name She-Wolf when she became a performer. And so it's Joyce She-Wolf Howe. You know of her?
No, but...
Oh, wow. Well, she's at the nursing home in Holly Springs now. She doesn't perform anymore, but I definitely have to show you some of her work. And if anybody is out there, look up Joyce She-Wolf. She's on YouTube now. When she pre-stroke, we was at the Juke Joint Festival in Clarksdale, and oh my goodness, it was a powerhouse. She would come through, and it would feel like a hurricane come through after she performed, and I'm serious. I'm not lying.
I mean, with a name like that, she couldn't have been timid.
Man, timid was the least. She would make you feel like you were She-Woman or He-Man, after just listening to her. She just has so much power and so much soul, and it's really something like I haven't heard anybody else around here singing like that, And she got a chance, though. She had never gotten on the plane before, and she had me, and I had all these experiences, and I used to tell people, sell her to them. You got to hear my mama, And so her first plane ride was to Long Island, New York. We had a show at this place called John Brown's, and she blew them away. Next thing you know, people calling her. Then she goes to Switzerland, and Canada, and all over the place. And so, yeah, Joyce She-Wolf Jones. That's my mom.
Does your dad still perform?
He does. I mean, he does. He has the gout, and he just had eye surgery. Like I said, we got a new little sister in the family, but he still performs when his gout's not acting up, and he ain't doing too bad with that. Yeah, he just played at the Hill Country Picnic 2025 with Afro Sippy, and he plays sometimes with Gary Burnside and Kenny Brown. So yeah, he's still actively playing. Me, him, and my uncle Robert are still active.
Robert
Kimbrough.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the youngest now, so I'm the youngest of the Kimbrough family, and so I'm caught with the curse of alternative music. And when I say alternative, y'all don't judge me, but it was Oxford radio station, blame Oxford. Everything from Dave Matthews, Marilyn Manson, Seven Dust, System of a Down, Creedence Clearwater Revival. I mean, we could just go on and on and on and on, So, yeah, just a lot of influence.
How old were you when your grandfather passed away?
I think I was like 12 or 13. I remember his funeral being at Russ College in Holly Springs. So I was a teenager.
Yeah. How do you remember when the Juke Joint burned down?
I do actually. I was I was in Jackson, Mississippi, and the TV was on. I was somewhere in a hotel. I don't remember specifically what I was doing, but I remember seeing it on the news. I was down in Jackson, and the news is on, and then come on, this historical place in Holly Springs, Mississippi, and I was like, what are they talking about? I tuned in, and my grandfather's Juke Joint had burned down, and I was so mad about it. I was like, somebody had to burn it down, and but yeah, I watched it on TV. I remember it like it was yesterday, and his funeral. I thought it was vandalized. I still to this day don't know how. I think they had the electricity cut off, I don't even know how it burned down to the ground.
Is there a time when you look back and you think, where you were kind of struck by, I'm a part of something a lot bigger than myself?
It definitely went back then. Well, looking at how those people would come into the Juke Joint and how everybody was my aunt or uncle, and it didn't matter what they looked like. I knew it was something different going on, but it wasn't until I really got out in the world and I was representing myself as part of the Kimbrough family, where I really realized it's so much bigger than me. You know, specifically out in Europe. When I went to Europe, I think Czech Republic, actually, this was the last, like, whoa, you know, because it was like, we remember when your grandfather come here to this specific place. And I was like, when was that? And it was telling me sometime in the 90s. And then there was like showing me pictures of when Uncle Robert was there. And then here I go. And I was like, whoa. Like, it's been going on. Like, these people have been inviting us, and they've been loving his music for generations, not just like a little bit, you know. And they treat you so different in Europe. When they talk about my grandfather, it's just it's like he was some sort of messiah. I mean, we stayed in people's house. People didn't know me from tick from tack. It's like, Cameron, please sleep here. Please eat my food. You know, I want to share with you. I've gotten guys build me guitars online, you know, because I was his grandson, and I don't think they really knew whether I could play the guitar or not. And I was like, man, this is so much bigger than me. And it would be moments where I would be aggravated with music. You know, I would need money or just wasn't getting shows. And it would be random. It still happens to this day where random people notice that I'm not posting something or I haven't played some music somewhere. And they would send me a message like, hey, man, you all right? Hadn't seen you play in a while. You know, and I'm like, golly. That's what snapped me out of myself. Like, well, you got to do it. Don't matter how you feel. You know, you got stuff going on. Everybody got stuff going on. And so that's what keeps me going, you know, because I might get tired of playing some of the same licks or some of the same old stuff. But because I put myself out there now as a part of this representative of this family, people will keep me going, you know. And I'm forever grateful and thankful. It might sound lame or crummy, but if it wasn't for you guys, you wouldn't know me, you know.
When you were so down and out and you were living in this house with no electricity and, you know, you lost everything, that was the blues.
Yeah.
And you had to get the blues
to play it.
To play the blues.
Yeah.
Like you got it.
It's one of the most real experiences that I could say, you know, and it's real. Like, I could not play this stuff and didn't play it before that moment. You know, I've tried to pick it up and play it, but it's something about really going through at that moment that made me really play. Well, I didn't have nothing to do. I didn't have anywhere to go, you know.
Yeah.
And I put all of my time in the guitar. I was telling my friend the other day, I was like, man, when I first started, and sometimes I still do it, I used to sleep with the guitar. You know, I seen people and picture some of the old guys, you know, will always have a guitar. I thought that's the way you got to get good. You have to have it with you all the time. And so at one moment, when people seen me when I was homeless, and I had that guitar with me, you know, and they'd be like, you always got that thing on you. You know how to play it? You know, I'd be like, a little bit, but it's too shy to really like pull it out and go to work. But I had it with me, you know. But yeah, I couldn't feel no blues to play them. I was 10 when my dad said, he passed me this magazine with Iggy Pop on it, with some black leather pants on, this funky pose, like, we about to go on tour with Iggy Pop. I was like, Iggy Pop, that's such a funny name. You know, I'm 10, I'm like, who is that? Y'all finna go tour with this guy? And he was like, son, you need to learn the blues. And I'm like, I'm 10. I think I said that to him. I said, I'm 10, Dad, you know. He was like, all right, but I'm telling you need to learn it. And that's when I understood what he was talking about. You know, at that moment, I was like, okay, I got the blues now, finally. And it wasn't about, it's really nothing to do with the guitar. It's how you feel, like what's going on. And you can have the blues if you step on the tack, you know what I mean? Because you like, you're in pain now. You went from having a day without pain to having pain, and then you're worried, are you gonna get infected? You know, all of that's the blues. Or, oh my gosh, I just paid the rent and the light bill just came in. And, you know, like, it's all the blues. Or, man, you know, I made too much money and I'm not gonna even get taxes. Or, you know, everybody got the blues. You know, it really ain't a black or white thing. You know, everything turns political, unfortunately. But blues is the blues. It's blue. It ain't black, brown, or white, you know. And so I didn't even know what blue was, because I was driving a truck My mortgage was low. You know, I had enough money to get a new truck. I was the only child, so I never really shared anything with anybody, you know. And yeah, that was a eye-opener for me. And you know, I challenged myself to not run back home to my mama either, you know. So I really wanted to see, you know, what I was made of. And I was able to come out the fire with a guitar in my hands. My talent now because I took the time to play this, I can eat now, no matter what. It might just be 10 or 20 bucks, but it went from, I didn't have any type of talent that I could go towards and do anything anywhere to this guitar you're gonna be all right. You got this guitar, and that's true. And I know that now because I played on the streets of Memphis before we toured all over. Me and my buddy Yella P, we would go busk on Beale Street or Main Street in 90-degree weather, you know, and just when it wasn't no guaranteed money, but when you do it out of love and people can see he looked like he having fun, you know, let me see what I got, you know. And that's how we did it. And we did that for some years, and then we took off, you know. So, and I'm still the same. I'll play the same as you've seen, you know. I'll never be too big for myself because it's not even really about me at the end of the day. If nobody appreciates it or wants to hear it, I'm a nobody, you know.
Was your dad like his mentor as a drummer?
You know, I think yeah, and for Gary, because Gary was just telling me, your dad the reason why I'm doing this. He used to get me out the house. So yeah, I believe he was. You know, but Cedric, he just spent a lot more time with his granddad. Like he was at the juke joint when he was a little kid playing my dad's set. But then when his granddad started playing, both his granddad and my granddad kind of got famous at the same time.
Okay.
So my dad was like coaching everybody because Gary and Cedric were younger.
Yeah.
So he was kind of looking over him a little bit. And, you know, Cedric kind of just took off.
Yeah,
you know?
But y'all are all about the same age, aren't you?
Cedric is a little older than me.
Okay.
I think Cedric is like 44, 45 or something like that. I'm 40. And Gary is a little older than me. So I'm the youngest between Cedric and Gary.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm the youngest out of everybody.